Starting VOD. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. You will notice I have a new avatar. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope we're all having a good day. Ugh. There was something that I wanted to talk about very briefly. Oh my goodness. It has just slipped my mind. Hold on. You guys are going to get to see me do this live, actually, for the first time. Here we go. Hold on. Ignore the sound effects. Ignore the sound effects. I can't turn those off. Actually, wait, can I? I can turn off the sounds. Okay. Hello! Good afternoon, everyone! Hello! Thank you, kid, for the apple. I appreciate it. Okay, so before we get started today, I wanted to discuss something that came out today. So BBC Earth posted a thing talking about T-Rex in preparation for the release of Walking with Dinosaurs. If you are from the United Kingdom, congratulations. You get it like a month early because it's coming out this Sunday, I think. I'm just going to say this. The thing that they put out for T-Rex makes no sense, okay? Because it labels Tyrannosaurus as the species. That is not the species. The species is Rex. Tyrannosaurus is the genus. They label it. Wow, that was a awful voice crack. They label its like height, weight, and length as very conservative numbers. I mean, like they're not bad numbers. They're just like lower end conservative numbers. But then they go and they do something crazy and label its life expectancy as 40 years old. What? I don't think I've ever met anyone who has ever claimed that T-Rex lived into its 40s. The oldest specimens we have are in their early 30s. And Sue, who may have been in her late 20s, early 30s, had early onset arthritis. Yeah. Is skin from Dinosaur Revolution? I do not believe so, no. It might be, this skin might be inspired by it, but, because I have like different skins that I can throw on it. Where was the red? I was using red. There we go. Oh yeah, I turned the sounds off. Anyway, Professor, did you play Jurassic Park from the Sega Genesis? I did not, because that was a bit before my time. You have to realize I am only 20 years old. I will be turning 21 in July, so I'm a bit before my time. Thank you for the 10 tiny dinies. Thank you, Chickles, for the tiny diny. Thank you, Sophia, for the goat, and thank you, Chickles, again for the tiny diny. What was the dinosaur that could live the longest? The dinosaurs that lived the longest were likely the sauropods. These guys could have lived, maybe into their 50s. These guys lived for a while. Sauropods, especially like the bigger ones, like the titanosaurs, they would have very long lives, and the amount of offspring each one would have would be kind of crazy, especially for the adults. Because sauropods have the kind of mentality that turtles do. They lay a bunch of eggs in one area, or at least this is how we speculate they did things. They lay a bunch of eggs in one area. The babies fend for themselves for the first few years of their life. They kind of get like the turtle treatment once again. And then they get older and bigger. And once they get to adulthood, they're basically untouchable by larger predators unless there's like a mob of them. So yeah, they could easily, yeah. Name a car for an edit. 69 Impala, the one from specifically the one from Supernatural. There you go. Yeah. Question: what are your opinions on Guanlong? Do I like it? I think Guanlong is really cool. To those of you who don't know, Guanlong is a early Tyrannosauroid. It is not like the forefather of the Tyrannosaur line. It is a part of that line, but it is not like the earliest like Tyrannosaur, right? It's think of it kind of like an uncle to that lineage, in a way. But it is really cool. It is really cool. I like Guanlong. Dino Class, I miss you so much, class. Well, welcome in. Thank you, one silly goose for the heartbeat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Liam, for the tiny tiny. Thank you, Maito, for the heart me. I appreciate it. Another teacher. How do we know how much dinosaurs lived? Well, in terms of age, you can actually tell based on growth rings. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Growth rings aren't just a thing for trees. You do actually see growth rings in in fossils and stuff like that. In fact, there's actually something really cool about growth rings. Okay, so my personal favorite dinosaur of all time is Nanooksaurus hoglundi. It is an Alaskan tyrannosaurid that lived in the late Cretaceous. Okay, now, what's interesting about the animals that lived in Alaska compared to further down south in Laramidia is that you can see a difference in growth. You can actually tell when it was winter. Or not like actual time frame, but you can see when it was winter for this animal, right? So in the winter months, if the animal lived up in Alaska, the growth pauses. Like you see a full stop in growth. And then once spring comes, then they start growing again. It's actually super cool. So like during like really harsh winters, their growth rate stops, or at least it slows down like dramatically. It's really cool. Thank you, Chickles, for the donut. I appreciate it. Opinion on Acrocanthosaurus, super cool Carcharodontosaurid from North America in the early Cretaceous. It is the second largest genus of theropod to roam North America. But yeah, super cool animal. Would have been hunting like sauropods, like Astrodon and stuff like that. By the way, okay, so there has been a meme that has been floating around the paleo community for quite some time, and I thought I'd discuss it here. But actually, hold on. So the meme was that, like, much like a buffalo, Spinosaurus's sail could have served as a muscle attachment point. And I'm here to set the record straight. Absolutely not. The neck was so long on Spinosaurus that it would not have allowed that. There's too much distance between the head and the beginning of the sail. However, Acrocanthosaurus is a dinosaur where it had tall neural spines to support musculature. So Acrocanthosaurus is that animal if you were looking for it. But yeah, T-Rex have feathers? All right, see this? You see this? See all those little bristles on my back? See that? That's about as much as an adult T-Rex would have. So the answer is yes, but not a lot. Like, T-Rex probably had T-Rex is as feathery as an elephant is hairy, right? Elephants have hair. They don't have a lot of it, but they have it. So yeah. Have they found broken dinosaur bones from fights? Yes, they have. There are several specimens of several different types of dinosaurs that display injuries. Even ones from non-physical confrontations. We have a T-Rex that seems to have a suspiciously Triceratops horn-shaped hole in its leg, or at least a cut into the back of its leg. There is an Allosaurus with a suspiciously Stegosaurus-shaped Thagomizer hole in the back of its leg. There's also Broken Jaw. If you ever watched Dinosaur Revolution, you might remember Broken Jaw. Broken Jaw is a real specimen. And there's also a Gorgosaurus specimen that I believe there is a display of this guy in the Houston Natural History Museum. It is a Gorgosaurus with evidence of brain cancer. And that's super tragic for the animal. But like, that's a Tyrannosaurid that had like brain cancer. That is like okay, to put this into perspective, the odds of something like that fossilizing are incredibly slim. So the fact that we get to see that is just astonishing. But yeah. Why is Trike and Rex so popular? Because they're the biggest and the baddest of their families. And they were also found pretty early into the field of paleontology and stuff like that. Can T-Rex swim because of their airy bones or just float? Probably a little bit of both. They were pretty buoyant because of their hollow bones and the internal respiratory air sacs and stuff like that. But they would probably be very capable of swimming because of their very powerful hind limbs. Favorite dinosaur is Brachiosaurus. Any fun facts about them? Yes. So fun fact: Brachiosaurus's name means arm lizard. Um, and you might think, wow, that's really unfortunate. But if you go take a look at Brachiosaurus, it's a fitting name. Brachiosaurids, or animals closest to Brachiosaurus, are have very long front limbs, and they have very short back limbs. Those front limbs are basically columns, and they are very upright animals. In fact, one of the tallest dinosaurs, actually the tallest dinosaur that we know of so far, is Sauroposeidon, I believe. It's not a brachiosaurid. It's a part of a different family, but it is very similar in shape to Brachiosaurus. So it's got that like very strange upright posture and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, Brachiosaurus lived in the around the late Jurassic. It would have lived or seen at least things like Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, and Diplodocus. People don't really think about it that much, but the Jurassic sauropods kind of all, like, especially like the big ones, the popular ones, the Camarasaurs, the Diplodocids, the Brontos, the Apatos, all of those guys, they all kind of lived in and around the same place and time. And so it's pretty cool because that kind of implies that that was like a lush paradise for these giant megafaunal creatures. But yeah. The largest dinosaur. The largest dinosaur can go to 3 different categories. Your 3 categories for large are height, length, and weight. In height, it is Sauroposeidon. In length, it's Supersaurus. In terms of weight, that is very much debated. The safe answer is Argentinosaurus. The debated ones are things like Dreadnoughtus, Patagotitan, Brachiosaurus, stuff like those guys. So as of right now, like they're all very similar in shape and size, and they're also very fragmentary. So it's really hard to get like good volumetric weights and averages for these guys, unfortunately. So it's one of those. But yeah. Is there any evidence of pterosaur hatchlings having feathers or hairs? Asking again. I don't know about hatchlings, but we do have evidence of feather structures on pterosaurs. They're technically called pycnofibers, but they are morphologically like nearly the same as feathers. But we do know that pterosaurs had them, so it would not be impossible for the young pterosaurs to have them as well. Let me catch up with thank you Carkles for the 10 ice cream. Thank you Vin for the roses. Thank you Hannah for the tiny dinies, and thank you Vin again for the 3 tiny dinies. I appreciate it. But day 1 one day land during Carboniferous period, 1 hour of the Triassic period. I'll go with 1 hour on the ocean of the Triassic. I'll go with that. Catching up with chat. Are scales just very solid feathers? No, scales came first. So it's thought that that since both dinosaurs and pterosaurs have feather-like structures, or just straight up feathers in the case of modern birds, it's thought that the last common ancestor between dinosaurs and pterosaurs had feather-like structures. The technical term for the very, very early feather-like structures is actually called dinofuzz. So the last common ancestor between them probably had that. So it's more likely that feathers are derived from scales than the other way around. Now, we also see things like, and if you think that's wild, I'd like to point you in the direction of the pangolin. You know how weird the pangolin is? It's one of the only mammals, actually, it might be the only animal or mammal with scales. One of the only mammals with scales, and it's all made out of keratin. You know what keratin is? The same stuff that makes your fingernails and hair. It's wild. Yeah. Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus live together. Is there any chance of mixed breeding? I know it's weird. It is possible. It is possible. I don't know how successful that would be because they belong to separate genera. But it is possible. We know that, like in the modern day, blue whales and right whales can actually reproduce together. And I believe they're a part of. Are they? I don't remember if they're the same genus or not. Genus is like very much more overarching in modern animals than it is in paleontology. So, um, but answer is maybe, but may or may not produce offspring. But were there raptors similar to Nanoxaurus? If you mean like big and possibly feathery and a little bulky, yeah, you got things like, Utah raptor, a kilobator, Dakota raptor. If it's invalid, it's probably a nomen dubium. There's supposedly something coming out about Dakota raptor in the future. I'm yet to see it. I'm yet to hear about it, but we will see. But yeah, there are big, bulky raptors. Plenty of them, actually. But yeah. Is it possible that there could be hybrid dino kids if dinosaurs could breed symbiotic? I don't know. Probably only things that are closest together. Like the closer in genetic, like two different generas of tyrannosaurs, like Gorgosaurus and Dasp. Probably. It probably wouldn't make a new species. You'd have something like a mule. Mules cannot reproduce because they are hybrids. They are a hybrid between horses and donkeys, and they cannot have children of their own. That is why mules are not their own species. Now, I did actually see another question that I thought was pretty cool. I saw someone ask, what dinosaur had the most dramatic change, not including Spinosaurus? I'm going to say Megalosaurus. Megalosaurus was the first dinosaur ever named by science in 1824. Its original design or its original reconstruction was this quadrupedal, large lizard-like animal. Nowadays, we understand Megalosaurus to be a theropod, meaning it walked on two legs. And the carnivorous thing was correct. We also know that like most theropods probably had some smaller, like bristly feathers. The bigger they are, the more like sparse those feathers probably were as well. I'm trying to see. Do I have? Oh yeah, I was given this as well. Might as well turn into this for the rest of the stream. Oh, I am small. Hello, how are you? Anyway, this is Allosaurus. So how was your day so far? My day's going pretty good. Thank you, Chickles, again for the cheering crab and the message you. And thank you, yo, what up, my dude, for the tiny diny. I appreciate it. But yeah. I know. What dinosaurs have feathers? Largely the theropods. The theropod dinosaurs are going to be the ones that are going to be the ones with feathers. We know that for a certainty because modern theropods, birds, also have feathers. And again, we understand that pterosaurs have pycnofibers, so it's believed that the common ancestor between dinosaurs and pterosaurs had early feather-like structures. There is an argument to be had for ceratopsians. I know, that sounds very strange. Triceratops with feathers? Well, not really. They're not really feathers, because there is a specimen of a dinosaur called Psittacosaurus, which is a ceratopsian, that does preserve quill-like structures on the base of its tail. There is also a specimen of Triceratops that was preserved with a skin impression that may or may not display feather-like structures. Or not feather-like structures, but nodules for quills. Sorry, quills. That's what I'm trying to say. They're called quill nodules. Now, there's an argument to be said about them being quill nodules, and there's also an argument to be said that they are something called feature scales, which are just larger scales that are scattered around the body. And people are still kind of sort of debating about that, so, it remains to be seen. Was Suchomimus strictly a pescivore or only ate fish, or was it anything else it could find? It would probably eat anything that it could find. We found evidence of iguanodon remains in the stomach of Baryonyx. Baryonyx is a closely related spinosaurid to Suchomimus. That would probably indicate to us that yeah, they were likely eating anything that they could get their teeth around. They would eat fish primarily, more than likely, but they would be opportunistic if the chance came around. You know, just kind of like pelicans. You ever notice that pelicans try to eat everything? Have you ever noticed that? Pelicans mostly eat fish, but they will eat anything that they can get their mouth on. Like, I've seen videos of pelicans trying to eat capybaras just to see if they could. I don't know. It's still very much around. Um, do I think Gigantopithecus blackie is stronger than dinosaurs? Depends on the dinosaur we're talking about. What dinosaur do you hate the most? Nanotyrannus, because it's not real. And there's going to be a few people that disagree with me on that because this has been going back and forth for the last couple of decades. Nanotyrannus is a supposed genus of tyrannosaurid that lived in the late Cretaceous. I am of the opinion that Nanotyrannus is either a juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex or it is a preservation of dwarfism in dinosaurs. I think it is one of the two. So yeah. Oh, what's your opinion on the stereotype of all carnivores being bloodthirsty murderers? I think it's overplayed. But I also understand that was another awful voice crack. I also understand why. Because like obviously like we are not like the most ferocious predators on the planet. And what I mean by we as I mean like we as in people, right? So we have always imagined these big, scary monsters that could come around the corner and like end us and like eat us and stuff like that. So it's no wonder that we always depict carnivorous animals like that. However, funnily enough, in nature, the most dangerous animals are typically herbivores. Because think about it like this. A carnivore is not going to risk injury because it has to actually fight its food when it's hungry. And if you're fighting your food and you're already injured, that's not going to end well. Herbivores don't have to worry about that because their food's everywhere, right? So they will, like, look at hippos. You ever seen how aggressive hippos are? Man, those things are insane. And, like, look at their giant tusks. You ever seen their giant tusks inside their mouths? Yeah. Did you know that they just eat grass? Yeah, they mostly just eat grass. They have those tusks to fight each other, mostly. But yeah. Is Troodon valid again? It could be valid. Troodon could be valid again. We will see. It is possibly valid. But yeah. And thank you, Bagel, for the 2 roses. I appreciate it. What is the biggest croc, Deinosuchus or Purosaurus? Technically, I mean, if we're going based off of true crocodilians, then it's Purosaurus no matter what, because Deinosuchus is not a true crocodilian anymore. A study came out saying that it is not an alligatorid anymore. It is in like the same camp of crocodiliforms with Sarcosuchus and stuff like that. Whereas Purosaurus was actually a caiman. But either way, I do think Purosaurus is slightly larger on average. So yeah, Purosaurus. Cenozoic too, which is crazy. Do you think feathers are more accurate to dinosaurs than just simple scales? I think feathers are more accurate depending on the dinosaur you're depicting. There are certain dinosaurs that we have a pretty decent understanding of what their skin texture was like. For example, Triceratops and Carnotaurus. We have skin impressions of them. We also have skin impressions of Tyrannosaurus Rex. There obviously are going to be certain types of skin impressions that no matter what are not going to preserve really small bristly hairs. So the skin impressions of T-Rex could be seen as missing those like bristly like proto feather looking things. simply because they probably wouldn't have preserved in the skin impression. Um, but I guess it just really depends on the dinosaur that you're depicting. But yeah. But yeah. Do I have a favorite Abelisaur? My favorite Abelisaur. Honestly, that's hard to say. I'm gonna go with Rugops. Like, he's not very big, not very imposing. He's just a chill guy, and he's getting by. Got to live alongside Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus in North Africa. So, yeah, I'm gonna say Rugops. Pretty chill dude. But yeah, the Triceratops have quills. That is, may or may not. We're not entirely sure. There's an argument to be had for both sides. The specimen of Triceratops that had like the supposed quill nodules could also very much be feature scales. So where the simple answer, jury's still out on it. There's a lot of questions that you could ask that I could be like, we're not really sure. It's currently being debated. For example, is Herarosaurus a theropod? Maybe, maybe not. We're not entirely sure yet. But yeah. This is a grown man, by the way. Yeah. And I'm living my dream, and I'm happy. What you gonna do about it? Anyway. But yeah. How did dinosaurs reproduce? They reproduce the same way birds do. They have a organ called the cloaca. It's kind of where everything happens. What do I think of Mipe? Mipe is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It is the largest the largest Megaraptorid. Sorry, I was still on the last subject. It is the largest Megaraptorid that we know of, and it has got a killer name. It is an indigenous name to the area that it was found, which I believe was Patagonia, which means the shadow of death who kills with the cold wind. It is just such a metal name, man. What dinosaur is most inaccurately interpreted in media? Most inaccurately. God, that's I want to say Parasaurolophus actually. That's not because like it's portrayed wrong, it's just because it's had a lot of media depictions and it hasn't really been updated. So like looking at like the Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus and then like the Dinosaur King Parasaurolophus and all of those, you'll notice something pretty interesting. They are strangely theropod-esque. They're very like back heavy. Like they don't have a lot of musculature in the front, right? Whereas Parasaurolophus in life likely was quadrupedal most of the time, but it would have run bipedally if it had to. I think this really goes for a lot of hadrosaurs. A lot of hadrosaurs are often depicted as like obligate bipeds like all the time, which is just not the case anymore. We understand that they actually had hoof-like structures on their front limbs, so they would be quadrupedal for most of the time, you know? Cool. Who's bigger, Giraffatitan or Mosasaurus? Oh, Giraffatitan by a mile. If we're going by weight, which is what people typically mean when they go by large, it is Giraffatitan by a mile, probably. I just think it's heavier. Also, Mosasaurus, what? It was like 45 feet long, I want to say. Like the larger ones, at least, you know? What was the benefits of Spinosaurus' short legs? Wading in water. Think about it, right? So it's got the pressure sensors on the end of its snout, and having these shorter legs will allow its arms to be closer to the water, and it'll also allow it to more easily dip its snout into the water. So it's just to kind of keep itself close to the water, more likely, more than. But yeah, Sternottitan bigger than Carcharodontosaurus? Maybe. It's really hard to say, honestly, because Carcharodontosaurids in general are not very well represented in the fossil record, unfortunately. I think like the most well represented member of that family is Concavenator, which doesn't really hold up too well because there's such a massive difference between Concavenator and the bigger ones. Concavenator is like 6 feet tall, maybe a bit more at the hip, right? 6, 7 feet tall, maybe 8, all right, if we're pushing it. And the other ones are like Giga and Karka and Tyrannotitan and Mapu. These guys are insane in terms of size. So answer is maybe Tyrannotitan's bigger, but I can't say for sure because they are just very poorly represented in the fossil record. But yeah. Is it possible for dinosaurs to be born with 2 heads? Yeah, it is actually. So we, funnily enough, it's not a dinosaur, but we do have a marine reptile embryo that was preserved with 2 heads. If you want to look it up, feel free to do so. It is this really cool marine reptile specimen. Is an embryo, once again, that had 2 heads, like very clearly had 2 distinct necks and 2 distinct skulls and stuff like that. It's really cool. For that to happen to a dinosaur would obviously be rare, but it is not impossible. Like, think about it for a second. Dinosaurs ruled the earth for hundreds of millions of years. 160 million years to be exact is how long the non-avian dinosaurs ruled the planet. One of the longest dynasties of life ever. So it is very much possible for a non-avian dinosaur to have been born or to have hatched with 2 heads. Would it have survived into adulthood? Probably not. I'm going to be honest with you. It would probably die within the first couple of weeks, as most do. So yeah. Yeah. The Carnotaurus use its head to ram stuff. What's actually pretty interesting is about that is that a lot of theropods probably did. Especially in interspecific combat. Like if it is fighting another member of its species, it is likely going to butt its head. Because guess what? Look at Allosaurus, the dinosaur that I'm dressed as right now. See that? See that on its head? It's got hornlets. It's got lacrimal crests. T-Rex has that too, actually. Do I have any other avatars that I saved? I'm trying to remember if I had gotten any other ones. I do have this guy. Hold on. I'll very quickly turn into this little dude. Hello. Let me get a little bit bigger. Trying to remember, does it make sounds? Okay, apparently it doesn't. Anyway, but yeah, most theropods likely did headbutt their prey, or maybe not like as an opening, like an opening attack to a hunt, but like if they wanted to knock something over, they definitely could have. But yeah. Let's see. What do you believe Megaraptorans were more related to? I know it's a very competitive question. I want to say Slewosaurs. I want to say they are Slewosaurids, much like Tyrannosaurs and Proceratosaurs. There's an argument to be made over them being like Carcharodontus, like closer to the Carcharodontosaurids. Especially since they lived on the same continents as them. But I don't know. I want to say basal Slewosaurs, or like basal Tyrannosaurs and stuff like that, That's my current opinion on the matter. That could very much change, so who knows. But yeah. Am I from Primal? I believe this model is actually from Sauria. So the single player dinosaur survival game that never came out, unfortunately. But yeah. What is the smartest dinosaur? Well, the smartest dinosaur overall would be the modern crow and raven. Those guys are very, very smart for birds. They even what I think is the most impressive about crows and ravens is that they understand something called water displacement, which is, like when you place, let's say you have a cup of water and you drop a rock into it. Well, the rock is now displacing water, meaning the water is going to go higher up in the cup. They know that. They can understand that, and that's crazy. Now, for the non-avian dinosaurs, that's likely going to be a troodontid, much like the one that I am wearing right now. Troodontids typically have a larger brain to body ratio than most other dinosaurs that we know of, meaning these guys were very intelligent for non-avian dinosaurs. Um, Now, as for like that's intelligent compared to the rest of them. As for like gauging how intelligent that is based on behavior, we might never know. But you know, I mean, yeah, they're probably very much capable of like if we go with like baseline intelligence with crows and ravens, things they could remember faces actually, huh? Yeah. And crows and ravens are also capable of being taught how currency works. Did you know that? It's pretty cool. But yeah. She name is 10 dinosaurs that don't get enough attention. 10 dinosaurs that don't get enough attention. Concavinator, I think it's really cool. Altospinax, we're gonna stick with that guy. Tyrannotitan, we're sticking with the Carcharodontosaurids with this apparently. Metracanthosaurus, Pygmenosaurus, simply because I want to see large Abelisaur depictions. Alioramus, simply because I want to see smaller Tyrannosaur representations. What else? Leptoceratopsians of any variety. Leptoceratopsians are cool. I think they need more depictions. On that note, things like Dryosaurus as well. I'd like to see more Dryosaurus depictions. I know, probably not a niche dinosaur, I know, but still. Not a dinosaur, but Rhamphorhynchus. I would like to see Rhamphorhynchus more. Gotta say Nanooksaurus because it's my personal favorite one. I'll even add on a few more to that. Aniosaurus, I think I'm saying that right. It's the ceratopsian with like the horn that curves down. Lokiceratops, that one was recently named, so doesn't have any depictions or any too great depictions as of yet. And there's also like Coelosaurus, or no, is Coeloceratops? I think it's Coeloceratops. But yeah, I wanted to know how did crocs survive the extinction? So most didn't. That's very important to note when it comes to the KT extinction event. Most things didn't survive. Most lineages died out. So a lot of the crocodilians died out, a lot of birds died out, and a lot of sharks died out. Even though those lineages are still around today, and even early mammals, a lot of early mammals didn't make it either. But the way that they survived, or the way that a handful of them would have survived, is it would have been the smaller ones, obviously. Crocodilians have a way of entering a state of like it's similar to hibernation. They do it in the winter. Like when it gets really cold, crocs will do this. They get into a state and they actually bury themselves in the ground. And they can stay like that for a while. It slows down their heartbeat, their metabolism, and everything. Like they go into this really deep slumber. So they probably did something like that. And then, if they didn't, then they were likely scavenging off of the dead, right? Like a whole bunch of fish are like now washed up on shore. Obviously, you've got giant dead dinosaur carcasses, so you help yourself to that, and you just kind of wait it out. But yeah, have found dinosaur bones in Antarctica. Yes, we actually have found dinosaur bones in Antarctica. There's Antarctica pelta. Cryolophosaurus was Cryolophosaurus in Antarctica? I think it was. Yeah. Improbator, Morosaurus, stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff like that. Antarctica pelta is probably one of my favorites from there. It's a really cool like ankylosaurid like animal, so it's super neat. I like it. Largest carnivore. Largest carnivorous dinosaur by weight is T-Rex. Largest carnivorous dinosaur as of right now by height is Giga. Largest carnivorous dinosaur by length is Spinosaurus. So yeah. How do we know that how do we even know that dinosaurs looked like that when we literally added skin onto their bones? Yes. Okay, so we used to do that a lot. This is a practice called shrink wrapping. Shrink wrapping is essentially that. We put a ton of like you just put skin over the bones, right? Is essentially what shrink wrapping is. And you always see like people trying to say that maybe dinosaurs don't look the way that they do because this is the skull of a hippo and this is what a hippo actually looks like, and it's very different from how you would expect it. Well, first off, that's not going to happen with a dinosaur because take a look at Komodo dragons. Take a look at birds. You know what they don't have a lot of? They don't have a lot of muscles in their face. So you're not going to see these giant morphological shifts in like facial structures simply because they don't have a lot of musculature in their face. Could they have had fat? Sure, they probably had fat deposits around like the bottom of their jaws and around their neck and stuff like that. And we're very lucky to be living in a time where we're actually getting a lot of really good depictions of dinosaurs that aren't being shrink wrapped. For example, I'm sure every single one of you has probably seen the new Jurassic World Rebirth trailer. You know what stood out to me? That T-Rex looks good. Oh my God, does that T-Rex look good? You know what it looks like? It looks like it's been fed. It's not shrink wrapped anymore. You can't really make out the outline of its like hips and stuff like that. It has fat. It's bulky. It's good. It's a good looking Rex. And obviously, you have the Walking with Dinosaurs T-Rex that we'll be seeing in the new Walking with Dinosaurs series that is coming out. It's coming out this Sunday for those of you who are in the UK. But it will be coming out later in June for us here in the States. And then obviously the Prehistoric Planet T-Rex, also really great representation. So yeah. Was the dumbest looking dinosaur? I can show you the dumbest looking dinosaur. Some of you are going to avidly disagree with me because it's dumb, but it's also decently cute. Also, I did see someone ask like what advice I'd give them for someone getting into paleontology. My advice for you, make sure it's something you want to do. Because there is in terms of professional paleontology, there is not a lot of money in it. All right? Make sure you're passionate about it. Hi there. I think this guy looks a little goofy. He a little goofy looking. So yeah, this is my answer. But this is Psittacosaurus. And I meant to do that for the camera. Psittacosaurus is an early, or maybe not early. Early is probably not the right word, but it is a ceratopsian. And these guys are really cool. A little goofy looking, but still really cool as one of the most well-preserved dinosaur specimens ever is that of a Psittacosaurus. While my avatar loads, oh boy, some of you are going to get this reference and some of you aren't, and we're going to see who does and doesn't. Yeah, so anyway, catching up with chat. Toast, it is Toast. What is the biggest dinosaur? The biggest dinosaur by weight is either Argentinosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Dreadnoughtus, or Patagotitan. One of those. But yeah. Do you believe that some modern birds in the future could evolve back into proper dinosaurs? Thank you, Pale Stream, for the 9 Tiny Dinies, and thank you, Eve, for the 12 Tiny Dinies as well. Thank you so much. Probably not. When it comes to evolution, there's a lot of things you sacrifice to fit into certain niches. Okay? For example, birds used to have bony tails, much like their prehistoric relatives. But they don't anymore because they found that because somewhere along the line, a reduced tail helped in flying, and like reducing that tail and kind of bringing it just to tail feathers on like right on the back, right there, right on the ends of it, helped. It helped them fly better. So they lost their bony tails. Now, when you fast forward into the Cenozoic, you find something called terror birds in South America, right? Terror birds are probably the closest we ever got to having non-avian dinosaurs again. Okay? They were large, carnivorous, flightless birds. Okay? They would likely have benefited from a bony tail. But here's the thing. God, why I keep having voice cracks today? What is going on? Man. But here's the thing. They didn't. Because guess what? Evolution is not typically going to give you the best solution or the best answer for a situation. So they were working with what they had, and their body plan worked. Their body plan worked. Meaning they didn't really have to change anything, even if they could have benefited from a tail. So we probably won't see them developing things like tails or fleshy mouths ever again, likely. So yeah. But yeah. Play Dipper Pines. Oh God. I y'all think I could voice act a older Dipper Pines? Fun fact about Pyroraptors, my favorite dinosaur. Well, a fun fact that I know is Pyroraptor may or may not exist. So there's another dromaeosaurid from its formation, or another supposed dromaeosaurid from its formation, that has some fossil material, but the fossil material between that dromaeosaurid, which I forget the name of, and Pyroraptor do not overlap. So as of right now, Pyroraptor could be synonymous with that thing, or that thing could be synonymous with Pyroraptor. We just need more, like, fossil material and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, they were a lot smaller than you see in Jurassic World. The real life counterpart's a lot more pretty. And I say that because, I don't know, I didn't like how angular and sharp that Pyroraptor was. It's a cool design, don't get me wrong, but I base my preferences of, like, dinosaur designs based on accuracy. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm like, I don't know. That's just, my thing. But yeah, Pyroraptor's super cool. It is a really neat dromaeosaurid. Yeah. VR? Yes, I am in VR. What is the dumbest dinosaur? The typical answer is Stegosaurus. And you know what? I'm going to tell you Stegosaurus, but I'd like to set the record straight. I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Okay? Stegosaurus did not have a brain the size of a walnut. Had a brain the size of 2 walnuts. Okay? Not much of a difference, but it matters. It matters. But yeah. Love your mom. But yeah, what is the fastest dinosaur? Fastest dinosaur. The fastest dinosaur in terms of, like, everything. In terms of, like, horizontal movement is, or just, like, getting from one point to another, is the peregrine falcon. Fastest dinosaur on land is likely any of the ornithomimids. Because they are a really great analog for ostriches. Ostriches are some of the fastest terrestrial birds on the planet, and ornithomimids have a very similar body plan to ostriches. So it's very likely that they were possibly the fastest on land. So yeah. You an inbred dinosaur? No, I'm in toast. Obviously, don't you see this golden brown sheen? I am in toast. But yeah. You have a Rhinoceros? I do not, unfortunately. How did you go extinct? Carnotaurus, unfortunately, went extinct in the KT mass extinction event. The KT PG extinction event. It went extinct with the rest of the non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago. So, yeah. You our toast? Yes. I thought raptors were faster. There were a lot of raptors that probably were. There were a lot of raptors that were probably faster than some ornithomimids. Let me just say that. Raptors could have been fast. Things the size of, like, the velociraptors in the Jurassic Park franchise, probably not. because like raptors that are like the as big as the Jurassic Park velociraptors are typically ambush predators, things like Utah raptor and stuff like that, and they are based on Deinonychus. I know that, but Deinonychus was likely fast as well. um I just think that overall, based on anatomy and also being able to look at an animal who is anatomically very similar, ornithomimids would take out with faster individuals than the fastest dromaeosaurids. So yeah. Wouldn't falcons be faster? Yeah, I already said that. I said, like, in terms of getting from one place to the next, the peregrine falcon is the fastest. But on land, ornithomimids are the fastest. But yeah. Cosmoceratops or Diablo? I do not. I do not have either of those, unfortunately. But yeah. Would I like to see Dilo portrayed better in the Jurassic Park? Yes! Yes! Dilophosaurus was huge! I mean, like, 900 pounds huge! Dilophosaurus wasn't small! Where's my drink? I had a drink to make sure I didn't lose. Make sure I didn't lose my voice. I would love to see Dilophosaurus portrayed more accurately in the Jurassic franchise. But yeah. Do we know the accurate sounds from Pachycephalosaurus? We do not. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone has ever asked me about the sounds Pachycephalosaurus could have made. And I'm not sure if I know what they could have even sounded like. There's okay, it's not accurate, probably, but we also don't know. But there is the sounds that the Path of Titans Pachycephalosaurus makes. I think they fit the animal. Are they accurate? But, give me 1 second. Anyway. It'd be funny if they made goat noses. Yeah. Thank you, Naria, or Narani for the 2 tiny dice. I appreciate it. How much you stream Chris each week? Well, I'm very happy to see that as well. It's always great to get new people in these streams. People can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I genuinely think the reason people click on these streams is. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh no! Oh no! I just realized something. I'm not streaming on the right topic on TikTok. I'm streaming on the gaming topic. Oh no! I usually have it on chat and interview. Uh-oh. That's a problem. Is D-Rex real? No, absolutely not. I did not realize that. Whoops. Okay. Anyway, which dinosaur do we have the least information about? A lot. There are some dinosaurs that are only known from single specimens. There are some dinosaurs that are only known from single bones. And there are some dinosaurs that we can't even give taxonomic names to because we have only found their footprints. Take the Mongolian Titan, for example. I'm gonna fix that tomorrow. We've already been live for closing in on an hour now, so I'm not gonna waste time changing the stream topic because I thought something was wrong. That completely slipped my mind. Good God, man, I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. But yeah. Anyway, what dinosaurs would you recommend wait, hold on. What dinosaurs would you recommend for an animal in a forested Arctic region as inspiration? I mean, like, I guess Antarctica Pelta. Muttaburrasaurus too, I suppose. Australia and Antarctica were connected around the time Muttaburrasaurus was around. So yeah. Favorite snake or turtle? Based purely on the fact that I had them as a kid. Favorite turtle are Russian tortoises. But yeah. But yeah. What are your thoughts on the changes in the dinos in the new Jurassic movie? I like it. It's good. I think the Quetzal could be better, but other than that, I like them. Yeah. Do you think ceratopsians could have had spikes like porcupines? Maybe not spikes, but they could have had quills. There's an argument to be had over quills. We've been talking about that very briefly for the last couple of we were talking about that a little bit beforehand as well. Thank you, Nope, for the tiny diny. I appreciate it. Do you think aliens would name dinosaurs like us in our different types? Probably not. Especially if it's just our skeletons. If it's just our skeletons, like, they always say that everyone's the same on the inside, and that's true. Like, literally, if they didn't have any evidence of, like, any of the cosmic difference or cosmetic differences between us, they'd name us all as the same species. Because we are. We are all Homo sapiens. We are all the same species. So yeah. Gaming Beaver reference? Yes. But yeah. Do cassowaries directly relate to a dinosaur genome that we know of? They are dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs. They are not related to them. They are them. But yeah, I mean, all birds today descend from that lineage of toothless bird, that survived the KTPG extinction event. All right. So, like, here's the thing. There is no surviving lineage for T-Rex. There is no animal alive today that is descended from a T-Rex. There is no animal alive today that is descended from a Gallimimus or any ornithomimid. There is no animal that is descended from Triceratops or sauropods or any of those guys or stegosaurids or ankylosaurids. None of them. All dinosaurs alive today are descended from a lineage of toothless bird that survived the KTPG extinction event. All of them. All of them. So yeah. Yeah. Not the chicken? No. The chicken does not directly descend from the T-Rex. Chickens are dinosaurs, but they directly descend from that lineage of toothless bird that survived the KTPG extinction event. Yeah. But yeah. Fun facts about Sinosauropteryx. Sinosauropteryx is pretty interesting because even if the specimen is a juvenile, we do know kind of what color it was. The juvenile, even if the specimen is a juvenile, the specimen that we do have of Sinosauropteryx is orange and has a very bushy tail, and it has a striped bushy tail, and it's really cool. It's like a prehistoric raccoon in a way, you know? Yeah. It's toast? Yes, it is indeed toast. Is it true that T-Rex's footsteps were essentially silent? Yes. And thank you, Biggie Cheese, for the 2 tiny dinies. I appreciate it. Yeah, so Tyrannosaurus Rex had fat deposits on the bottom of its feet. Or like fatty pads on the bottom of its feet. This is because Tyrannosaurus Rex is an ambush predator. We can tell this based on its anatomy. T-Rex, in comparison to other tyrannosaurs like Gorgosaurus or Albertosaurus or and Daspletosaurus and stuff like that, T-Rex actually has shorter legs in proportion to the rest of its body, indicating and that kind of adaptation is found in ambush predators. They have shorter legs compared to their relatives that are not ambush predators. That's why tigers have shorter legs than lions do and stuff like that. So fatty pads on the bottom of their feet to muffle their footsteps would very much help in that lifestyle as well. So there's a good chance, and I'm going to tell you now, there's a good chance you would not know if a T-Rex was sneaking up on you. If you were in a space in the forest with a T-Rex and it was like coming up to you and approaching you quietly, you wouldn't know it was there. Like at all. it would just kind of sneak up on you. But yeah. Fun facts about Utah Raptor. Utah Raptor is the largest of the dromaeosaurids. It is from the early Cretaceous of North America. Who would have guessed, right? With Utah in its name. It did not coexist with Iguanodon, or at least we don't think it did. There is the species of the genus of Iguana colossus that it likely lived with. But there's a debate. There's currently a debate on whether that is different enough to be classified as its own genus, or if it's different, or if it's too similar to Iguanodon. But yeah, anyway, Utah Raptor is the largest dromaeosaurid, and I do believe it is found in the Cedar Mountain Formation. So pretty cool stuff. Facts about Carnotaurus, considering you are one. That is a good point. Carnotaurus is only known from one specimen. It is only known from one singularly well-preserved specimen. And by well-preserved, I mean it is really well-preserved. We have everything except for pieces of the tail and everything below the knee. So most of the legs of Carnotaurus are somewhat of a mystery. Carnotaurus is either the second or third largest abelisaur, depending on who you're asking. I think Abelisaurus is likely either a bit bigger or a bit smaller. It just kind of depends on what estimates you're using. But it lived in the late Cretaceous of what is now South America, specifically Argentina. So yeah, they're really cool. Probably the most iconic abelisaurid. But yeah. Yeah. Can dinosaurs be mummified? Yes. Yes. We have found several dinosaur mummies in the past. Well, quote unquote mummy. They work a little bit different from like the typical Egyptian mummy in terms of their like preservation. That's the word. One of the best dinosaur mummies that we have ever found was Dakota the Edmontosaurus. Dakota the Edmontosaurus was preserved so well that it's kind of the reason that we understand that hadrosaurs had hooves on their front feet. Go take a look at that Edmontosaurus's front limb. It's like insanely well preserved, and it kind of just changed how we depict hadrosaurs since then, and it's really cool though. Really, really cool stuff. How big did Carnotaurus get? I want to say 4 tons. Give me 1 second to double check that. Hold on. Oh, that's not what I was looking for. Okay. Oh, no. I was overshooting. It was around 30 feet long and up to 2 tons. 2 short tons, I should say. But yeah. Some Moxies reduced body size, genetically fixed, or what's the island pressures? Probably island pressures. Island dwarfism is a very real thing. If you don't know what island dwarfism is what happens when an animal of a larger body size gets trapped on an island, and because of the reduced resources over the next few generations, gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and stuff like that. But yeah. Know anything about Archelon? I know Archelon is actually so different from modern turtles that it is not actually considered a part of that lineage that gives us modern turtles. I don't know too much about it, but it is really cool. It is one of the largest, I guess I'll say quote unquote, turtles that ever existed. And I think it's like twice as big as the largest sea turtle alive today, which is the leatherback sea turtle. What's interesting is that in Prehistoric Planet, they depicted Archelon as similar in shape to a leatherback, which is pretty cool. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, in Prehistoric Planet, that turtle that Hank, the T-Rex, flips over, I do believe that is an Archelon. But yeah. Is Tarbosaurus an example of island dwarfism? Nope, they lived in a desert. They lived in deserts around rivers, forests, and stuff like that. So they would not be an example of island dwarfism, because they did not exist on an island. I think now, by the way, Tarbosaurus is huge. I like to mention that. You only think it's small because it's small in comparison to T-Rex. Tarbosaurus is massive for a terrestrial carnivore. Like, again, like, the largest terrestrial carnivore on the planet is the polar bear. And Tarbosaurus blows that thing out of the water in terms of weight. Like, it's crazy. You do Dino Nuggies right now? Nice. Yeah. Yeah. You're the same size as Spinosaurus aegypticus. Isn't Spino's current weight somewhere around like 8.1 tons on average? Like, I know it's really hard to get an average based on the very limited specimens of Spinosaurus that we have. But Tarbo's what, like 6 tons? I want to say Tarbo's 6 tons. I made a video on Tarbo. I should know this. Hold on, give me 1 second. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, 5 to 6 tons. Okay, cool. Cool. Oh. Okay. What dinosaurs are commonly mistaken as dinosaurs when they actually aren't? Pterosaurs, marine reptiles, crocodiles, pseudosuchians, sometimes synapsids, like in the case of Dimetrodon. Dimetrodon is not a dinosaur, it's a synapsid. You looking forward to the new Walking with Dinosaur series? I am. And this is probably, I'm going to say this again. I said this at the beginning of stream. Okay. BBC Earth put out a promotional thing about T-Rex. I think it was either today or yesterday. And it was like a little playing card thing. It was like species Tyrannosaurus. And like I read over that and I'm like, wow, there is a lot of very interesting choices in here. First off, Tyrannosaurus is not a species. Tyrannosaurus is the genus. Okay? The species is Rex, right? Now, I was going to make a video going over that promotional stuff, but I know the second I do that, I'm going to get people in my comment section going, oh, he's doing the actually thing. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I am. That's my whole gimmick. Also, so they played it very conservative with some of the numbers, right? They gave very conservative with the height, the length, and the weight. You know, it's not bad, not wrong. It's just, you know, lower end estimates. And, you know, that's fine. But then for some reason, they say that T-Rex could live into its 40s. There is not a single specimen of Tyrannosaurus Rex that has been dated to be in its 40s. Most of them are in their 20s. Most of the adult Tyrannosaurs we have are in their 20s when they've died, either early, middle, or late. Sue, for example, Sue was either in her late 20s, early 30s, and she was showing signs of having arthritis in her when she is at oldest 33. So I don't know, man. That maybe that's just like me being upset at nothing, but that feels very strange to me. Anyway, biggest carnivorous dinosaur was Giga. That is the tallest. Giga does not weigh as much as T-Rex. Not 8 to 9 times out of 10 when talking about size, the criteria is going to be weight. So Giga is not bigger than Rex on a basis of weight. In fact, Giga's skeleton actually got like remodeled recently because I think we have more material for Giga that is being described right now. Giga might not be the tallest terrestrial carnivore anymore. That might go to Rex. Rex might take tallest and heaviest. Which, you know, if that happens, that's insane. Especially if we're looking at specimens like Goliath and stuff like that. Now, take that with a grain of salt. That is unpublished information. No study has come out about it yet. They're still describing the material, still being prepared. So don't take that as fact yet. I'll let you know when that new Giga stuff comes out. But yeah. What is your opinion? What is the best aquatic dinosaur? Penguins. Because there are no aquatic dinosaurs other than penguins and maybe Spinosaurs if you want to go there. The aquatic dinosaurs, in quotations there, are marine reptiles that are not themselves dinosaurs. Like mosasaurs, pliosaurs, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, all of those guys are not they're not even archosaurs. They're something completely different. But my personal favorite is Tylosaurus. I love Tylosaurus. Tylosaurus is awesome. But yeah. What is your favorite living animal? Have you ever seen a bearded vulture? Those things are so cool. Bearded vultures are sick. I love bearded vultures. They're probably my favorite living animal. But yeah, is Quetzalcoatlus a pack hunter? It probably could have hunted in pairs. We don't have any evidence of pack-like or gregarious behavior, but I definitely wouldn't throw it out as a possibility, you know? But yeah, bearded vulture, yeah. No Mesozoic Munchstream. I'm okay, so in truth, I'm looking for a Taco Bell world because someone said I should do a Psittacosaurus stream so I could be like in a Taco Bell so I could be a taco in a Taco Bell. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking for that right now. But yeah, anyway. Is Spinosaurus now a seal? No, that is Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus is a fictional creature created as a joke in 2013 because at the time Spinosaurus was going through yet another transitional stage in its reconstructions. So the joke of Spinosaurus was made. Someone made a skeletal reconstruction of it. Someone made a 2D drawing of it, and then someone 3D modeled it. And yeah, Spinosaurus is not real. So Rex was the biggest to ever live, even though it never had to take on the larger long neck dinosaurs. Well, it could have. There might have been territorial overlap between T-Rex and Alamosaurus. Now, that's not to say a T-Rex would ever go for an Alamosaurus, but you also have to realize T-Rex was a brawler. Like, this animal was fighting things its own size, like Triceratops and Montosaurus and Kylosaurus, Denversaurus, stuff like that. These things had to hunt very differently than Carcharodontosaurus because those animals were a lot more abundant than the sauropods, which T-Rex lived with and stuff like that. So it's just a difference in lifestyle because of a difference in ecology, you know? Evolutionary arms race and stuff like that. Completed Jurassic World Evolution 2, Lost World Chaos Theory. You proud of me? Yeah, good stuff, man. Allosaurus mentioned, yeah. Opinions on Mononicus? Really cute little guy. Alverosaurids in general are like really cute. Because a lot of them just have a single finger on their hand. I know Mononicus has it, Bonapartenicus has it. Not named after Napoleon Bonaparte. It was named after a paleontologist whose last name was also Bonaparte. But yeah. Okay. The difference between a polar bear and a lion. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah. Are there any weird dinosaurs you like? The weirdest dinosaur that I like is Yichi. And I'm really glad that these guys are actually getting a lot more representation in media because they're becoming more and more popular, I'm noticing. Yichi, spelled Y-I space Q-I, is a small bird-like dinosaur from China. And what I think is so weird about it is that it is a bird-like dinosaur that instead of having feathered wings, it had winged membranes, meaning it had wing membranes similar to bats and pterosaurs and stuff like that, and that is super awesome. In fact, who here, okay, it might be our last little bit here. Who here saw the newest Jurassic World Rebirth trailer? Who here saw that? Cause I'm gonna make a comparison. Hold on, wait. If dragons are real, do you think they could be dinosaurs? Maybe. Okay. So a lot of you have seen the new Rebirth trailer. Good. Okay, I'm about to make a comparison here. You know the Mutodon that you see in the trailer? I'm being so real with you. If you supersized Yichi and took away its feathers and like gave it that mangled mouth, it probably would look like that. You could make a an excuse of saying, hey, those are really mutated Yeechees that are just supersized. Um, so, yeah. Why is there toast on your neck? Because I'm toast. I'm toast. Toast. But yeah. What was the biggest hadrosaur that lived in Asia? The largest hadrosaur that lived in Asia is actually the largest hadrosaur ever. Shantungosaurus. It would have lived alongside Zhucheng tyrannus, another Asian cousin of Tyrannosaurus rex. So yeah. Why are you not green? You happy? I'm green now. Anyway. But yeah. Was the biggest dinosaur of each period? Oof. Of each period. I'm gonna say Plateosaurus for the Jurassic. And my information's a little limited because, of course, I don't know all dinosaurs. They're like, if we include modern birds, that's several 100,000 species of dinosaurs. And of the prehistoric ones, there's over 100. There's like 100,000 different species of birds. And there's over 700 described genera of dinosaurs. But I'll say Plateosaurus for the Triassic. I want to say Sauroposeidon for the Jurassic, and possibly Argentinosaurus for the Cretaceous. That's what I would think. But yeah, how are you? I'm doing good. What was my favorite dinosaur? My favorite dinosaur of all time is Nanuqsaurus hoglundi, or hoglandi, a tyrannosaurid from the late Cretaceous of Alaska. It is super cool. It weighs possibly just over a ton. Was 6 to 8 feet tall. Somewhere between 20 to 26 feet long. So these guys were pretty small as far as Tyrannosaurinae tyrannosaurs. But yeah. Okay. So as of right now, I'm gonna say officially right here, right now, that class is dismissed. So I'm going to go ahead and roll outro, but I do have a few things that I will be discussing with you guys before I end stream. So I'm going to go ahead and do my outro. If you are sticking around for a few announcements, then go for it. Then, just wait up a second. Okay, so thank you everyone who has stuck with me throughout the entirety of class. Thank you everyone who liked, commented, shared, followed, and all of that good stuff. It really helps out the channel. It really helps out with exposure, and I thank you guys so very, very much. Thank you to everyone who gifted. You guys are awesome. I love y'all, and thank you so very much for all of the love and support. That being said and done, this is class dismissed, and I will see you all later. Have a good rest of your day, and we will be live again tomorrow. Okay, that's outro done. Cool. If you're still here, here are a few things that are going to be changing in the future. So for one, summer has officially begun. So that means stream schedules are going to change a little bit. With a lot of my audience having been in school for the last couple of months, obviously I have adapted my stream schedule to reflect that, going live in the afternoons of Friday, afternoons of Saturday, while I hold recording sessions with Dino Guy and Paleo Pizza on Sundays and stuff like that, and we do gaming streams throughout the rest of the week. So, I haven't set anything in stone yet, but by next Monday, I should have a summer stream schedule out. The current idea that I have is that we'll be doing streams on Fridays and Saturdays as usual, and we will have an additional class on Wednesday. There will be no streams on Sunday or Monday or Thursday. Those 3 days are off, with Tuesday being probably one of the only days of the week that we'll be doing gaming streams. Thursdays simply for personal matters. I have a lot of most appointments I have to see my therapist, my doctor, get checkups, all that stuff. All of that stuff is on Thursdays. Sundays are reserved for recording sessions, and Mondays are just, I just kind of take to myself because I'm doing other stuff. Secondly, uploads. Uploads are going to Will this be out on Discord? Yes, this will be on the Discord. Don't worry. This will be posted in the Discord for you guys to take a look at. When the schedule gets made, at least. Uploads. Uploads are gonna slow down a bit. I'm sorry. But I have made a promise to myself to start something. So I'm currently writing I don't want to call it a book. I don't want to call it a novel. I don't want to call it anything yet. I'm writing a story. We'll call it that. It is going to be a historical fiction series. It's not going to be fantasy. It's going to be historical fiction. There's going to be a little bit of fantasy elements, obviously, but I wouldn't call it that because most of the story will not be told from the fantastical point of view. And that's going to be taking up a lot of my time. So when I'm not streaming, I will usually be doing that. And if I'm not doing that, then I will be editing recording sessions that I have with Dino Guy and Paleo Pizza. All right. That's updates out of the way. I will be posting more about this in the Discord. I'm guessing most of you that are still with us are in the community Discord already. If not, hey, go check out the link in my bio. All right, cool. Well, with everything being said and done, you guys have a great rest of y'all's day, and I will catch you all very, very soon, as in tomorrow, we're doing another Dino Class, so I'll see you all there, hopefully. Hopefully under the right topic, because, again, I screwed up, and, yeah. All right, well, you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye! I can't wave. I don't have elbows. Bye-bye!